She went into labor, and the doctor was her ex. What he did shocked everyone. Jennifer Thompson was tightly squeezing her husband Michael's hand when the door to the room opened. Her contractions were coming in increasingly intense waves, and the medical team at Mercy General Hospital in Denver was preparing for a delivery that was becoming complicated. It was a rainy March night, and the shift was busy, but nothing had prepared the 28-year-old for what was about to happen. When the obstetrician entered the room, the world seemed to stop. It was David Wilson, the man who had abandoned Jennifer on the eve of their wedding 5 years ago. His brown eyes met hers, and for a moment that seemed to last forever. The only sound in the room was the steady beep of the heart monitor. David was holding the clipboard with trembling hands, his pale face contrasting with his impeccable white coat. "Good evening. I'm Dr. David Wilson," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I will be managing your delivery." Jennifer felt the air escape her lungs. Michael, who was holding her hand, immediately noticed the change in his wife's behavior. She had completely stiffened, her eyes fixed on the doctor, who was now checking her details on the chart. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "It can't be him. It can't be." The nurse Patricia, a 55-year-old woman who had worked at the hospital for decades, noticed the tension in the air. Something strange was happening between the patient and the doctor, something beyond the normal situation of childbirth. "My love, what's happening?" Michael asked, worried. "Do you know the doctor?" David cleared his throat, trying to maintain his professional composure. He had prepared for many difficult situations in his medical career, but he never imagined that one day he would be responsible for delivering the child of the woman he had loved more than life itself. "Let's focus on what's important now," said David, avoiding looking directly at Jennifer. "I need to check how the labor is progressing." "I don't want him to touch me," Jennifer said, her voice coming out between contractions. "Michael, get another doctor. Anyone but him." Michael looked confused between his wife and the doctor. There was a history there that he didn't know about, and Jennifer's rapid breathing was making him increasingly worried. "Mrs. Thompson," David addressed her by name for the first time, "I understand this is an unexpected situation, but I am the only obstetrician available on this shift. Dr. Brown is in surgery and can't leave, and Dr. Sarah is attending to an emergency in the NICU." The rain was beating hard against the room's windows, creating an even more tense atmosphere. Jennifer closed her eyes, trying to process the reality. After 5 years without seeing him, David was there at the most vulnerable moment of her life. "Please," she begged, gripping Michael's hand tightly. "There must be another doctor. It can't be only him." Patricia approached the bed, her experience telling her that something needed to be resolved quickly. "Doctor, with all due respect, but the patient's dilation is at 8 centimeters. The baby will be born within the next 2 hours, with or without our preferred doctor." Michael stood up, confronting David directly. "If my wife doesn't want you to manage the delivery, then you won't. It's as simple as that." "Mr. Thompson," David replied, keeping calm, "I understand the situation perfectly, but as a doctor, I have an oath to uphold. I cannot abandon a patient in labor, regardless of personal circumstances." It was then that Jennifer had a particularly intense contraction. She screamed in pain, squeezing Michael's hand so hard he winced. David, by medical instinct, approached to check the baby's heartbeat. "Don't touch me," she screamed. "You have no right to touch me." "Jennifer," David said, his voice losing some of its professional coldness, "I know you have every reason to hate me. I know what I did was unforgivable. But right now, this isn't about the two of us. It's about your son. And I swear on my mother's memory that I will do everything to make sure he is born healthy." Michael looked at David with growing suspicion. "What do you mean? What did you do? Do you two know each other?" Jennifer was breathing rapidly, trying to deal with the physical and emotional pain at the same time. Tears began to stream down her face, mixing with the sweat from the effort. He was my fiancé," she managed to say between breaths. 5 years ago." The silence that followed was cut only by the sound of the medical equipment. Michael let go of his wife's hand for a moment, processing the information. "Your ex-fiancé? "And you never told me he was a doctor." "Because I never knew," Jennifer exclaimed. "When he abandoned me, he was finishing a business degree. He never told me he was going to medical school." David lowered his gaze. That was one of the many truths he had hidden from her. Back when they were dating, he was already attending medical school at a private university, but he told his family and friends he was studying business to avoid the pressure from relatives who expected him to follow the family tradition in medicine. "Doctor," Patricia intervened, "whatever happened between you two, this woman is in active labor. We need to make a decision now. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out." Now continuing. David looked at Jennifer, seeing her in a state of vulnerability he never imagined he would witness. She was sweating, her dark hair stuck to her forehead, wearing the aqua blue hospital gown that highlighted the paleness of her face. She was the same woman he had lost sleep over for years, but now she was carrying another man's child. "Jen," he said softly, using the nickname only he used, "I know I don't deserve your trust. I know I don't even deserve to be in the same room as you. But right now, as a doctor, I'm asking you to let me help. After your son is born, I promise I will leave, and you will never have to see me again." Michael watched the interaction between the two, realizing there was much more to the story than Jennifer had told him. The way David called her, the intensity of the look between them, everything suggested a relationship that had been much deeper than she had admitted. "Why did you lie about college?" Jennifer asked, her voice weak. "Why did you hide that you were in medical school?" "Because—" David hesitated, looking at Michael and then at Patricia. "Because at the time I didn't want anyone to know. My entire family are doctors, and I was trying to prove I could be different. By the time I realized I had truly fallen in love with you, it was too late to tell the truth." "Too late?" Michael interjected. "What kind of excuse is that? How long were you two together?" 3 years, Jennifer answered, closing her eyes as another contraction came. "We were going to get married in June of 2019. David carefully approached the bed, placing the stethoscope on her chest to listen to the baby's heartbeat. Jennifer didn't protest this time, but her whole body stiffened at his touch. "The heartbeat is normal," he informed them, "but I need to do an internal exam to check the dilation." "No," she said immediately. I can't let you do that." "Jennifer, please," David begged. "I know how difficult this is, but your baby could be at risk. It's already been more than 12 hours of labor." Michael positioned himself between David and the bed. If she said no, it's no. "Call another doctor, nurse." Patricia let out a deep sigh. In her 25 years in the profession, she had seen many complicated situations, but never anything like this. "Look, everyone," she said, with the authority of someone who had witnessed hundreds of births. "I'm going to be very clear with you. This maternity ward has 3 obstetricians on call tonight. One has been in an emergency C-section with triplets for 4 hours. The other is trying to save a 7-month premature baby. That leaves Dr. David, period." "Then transfer her to another hospital," Michael suggested. "In this rain?" Patricia pointed to the window. "Half the streets are flooded. Besides, she's 9 centimeters dilated. This baby is being born here, whether we like it or not." Jennifer started to cry silently. The situation had become a nightmare. After 5 years trying to forget David, building a new life with Michael, there she was, in the most intimate situation possible, depending on the man who had broken her heart. "Why did you leave?" she asked suddenly, looking directly at David. "Why the day before the wedding?" David stopped checking the medical instruments and stared at her. It was the question he knew would come, but he had hoped never to have to answer it. "Jen, now is not the time for—" "Now is exactly the time," she shouted, interrupting him. "You're going to put your hands on me. You're going to see my child being born, and I don't even know why you destroyed my life. I have a right to know." Michael crossed his arms, also waiting for the answer. Patricia, discreetly, continued preparing the materials for the delivery, but was obviously paying attention to the conversation. "I found out something," David began reluctantly. "The day before the wedding, I found out something that changed everything." "What?" Jennifer insisted. Your mother came to see me." The silence in the room grew even thicker. Jennifer looked at David with disbelief. My mother? What is this story? She came to see me at the university and said she knew I came from a wealthy family, that you deserved someone better than me. She said you were in love with the idea of getting married, not really with me. That's a lie, Jennifer shouted. My mother would never do such a thing. She offered me money to leave, David continued, his voice growing quieter. 20,000 rays to disappear from your life. Michael watched the conversation with growing suspicion. There was something about the story that didn't add up. And you accepted? Jennifer asked, incredulous. No, but she told me other things. Things about you that made me question everything. What things? David hesitated, looking at Michael. It was obvious he didn't want to speak in front of Jennifer's current husband. Michael, can you give us a minute? Jennifer asked. No way. I'm your husband. I have a right to be here. Please, she insisted. It's about my past. You'll know everything later, I promise. Michael hesitated but eventually left the room, not without first giving David a warning look. As soon as they were alone with Patricia, Jennifer repeated the question. What things did my mother tell you? She said you had cheated on other boyfriends before. She said you were only with me because I had family money, and that after the wedding you were going to leave me. She showed me photos of you with other men at parties, in compromising situations. Jennifer turned white. She knew exactly which photos David was talking about. The photos from Amanda's college party. Yes, you kissing Ryan Collins, and others with Brandon from your work. David, those photos were from before we were dating, and the one with Brandon was a company party where everyone was drinking and taking silly pictures. You know that. I know now. But at the time, your mother convinced me they were recent. She said you told me all about your life plans just to keep me interested, but that behind my back you were cheating on me. Patricia, who had witnessed the entire conversation, shook her head in disapproval. What a terrible woman, she murmured. Why didn't you come to talk to me? Jennifer asked, tears streaming down her face. Why did you just disappear? Because I was young and stupid, David exclaimed. Because I was insecure, thinking you were too good for me. When your mother confirmed all my fears, I panicked. Jennifer closed her eyes, processing everything. 5 years of pain, of blaming herself, of thinking she had done something wrong, all because of her mother's interference. Where did you go? She asked. I went to Los Angeles to finish college, then I did my residency in San Diego. I only came back to Denver last year. And you never tried to find out the truth? David lowered his head, guilt evident on his face. I tried to find you twice. The first time was 6 months after I left. I found out you were dating someone. It was Kevin, my co-worker. It lasted 3 months. I was trying to forget you. The second time was 2 years ago. That's when I found out you had gotten married. To Michael. Yes. And then I realized I had really lost you forever. Patricia approached the bed again. Look, I know you two need to work through these issues, but this baby isn't going to wait. Jen, you're fully dilated. It's now or never. Jennifer looked at David, then at the door where Michael had exited. Call my husband back, she said to Patricia. When Michael returned, the atmosphere in the room had changed a little. Jennifer seemed calmer, though still visibly shaken. Michael, I need you to know that regardless of what happened in the past, you are the man I chose. You are the father of my child. What happened between me and David was in another life. Michael nodded, but it was obvious he was still processing everything. Doctor, Jennifer addressed David, you can deliver the baby, but after my son is born, I don't want to talk about the past anymore. Understood? Understood, David agreed, relieved. He began the final preparations for the delivery. Patricia helped, instructing Jennifer on how to breathe and when to push. I can see the baby's head, David announced. One more push and he'll be born. Jennifer held Michael's hand and pushed with all her energy. David worked with precision, his hand steady despite the emotionally complex situation. He's here, he announced, lifting a crying pink baby. Patricia took the baby for initial care while David finished the procedures with Jennifer. Michael was emotional, tears streaming down his face as he saw his son for the first time. He's a beautiful boy, Patricia said, handing the baby to Jennifer. And healthy. Jennifer held the baby against her chest, momentarily forgetting all the tension of the moment. This was her son, the result of her love with Michael, and nothing else mattered. "What will you name him?" David asked, filling out the documents. "Ethan," Michael answered. "Ethan Thompson Miller." David wrote down the name, trying not to show that this had been the name they had chosen years ago for their first child. Jennifer noticed the recognition in his eyes, but said nothing. "Doctor, you can leave now," Michael said, without hostility, but firmly. "Thank you for your professionalism." David nodded, gathering his materials. "Congratulations on the arrival of Ethan," he said, addressing both of them. "He's perfect." As David was almost out of the room, Jennifer called to him. "David." He turned around. "Thank you," she said simply. He nodded and left, closing the door behind him. Patricia finished tidying the room and was getting ready to leave when Jennifer called her. "Patricia, can you stay for another minute?" "Of course, dear. Do you think I did the right thing? Letting him deliver the baby?" The experienced nurse looked at Jennifer with maternal affection. "Honey, sometimes life puts us in situations we didn't plan for. What's important is how we handle them. That young man may have made mistakes in the past, but today he saved your son's life. The baby had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. If it weren't for his experience, things could have been very different." Jennifer looked at Ethan, who was sleeping peacefully in her arms. "What do you mean, the cord?" "Oh, you didn't notice in the rush, but when he was born, the cord was wrapped twice around his neck. Dr. David was very quick to fix it. A less experienced doctor might have panicked." Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. They hadn't realized the seriousness of the situation. He saved our son?" Michael asked. "Yes, he did, and very competently, I might add." Patricia left the room, leaving the couple alone with the baby. "Jen," Michael said softly, "I know it was hard for you to have him here today. I know there are still things about you two that I don't know. But when you're ready, I'd like to talk about everything." "Okay," she agreed. "But for now, let's focus on Ethan." They sat in silence for a few minutes, admiring their newborn son. It was a moment of peace after all the emotional turmoil. 3 days later, when Jennifer was discharged from the hospital, she found an envelope addressed to her at the reception desk. Inside was a letter from David and a small box. "Jennifer, I hope you and Ethan are well. I know I said I wouldn't talk about the past anymore, but I need you to know a few things. First, I apologize for having believed your mother without talking to you. It was cowardly of me, and I've carried that guilt for 5 years. Second, I want you to know that these 5 years haven't been easy for me either. Not a day has gone by that I haven't regretted my decision. I tried to forget you, but I never could. In the box is the engagement ring you returned. I've always carried it with me as a reminder of my mistake. Now it's time to give it back so you can do whatever you want with it. I'm not trying to win you back. I know I lost that right a long time ago. I just want you to know that, in spite of everything, the 3 years we spent together were the happiest of my life. Take good care of Ethan. He's lucky to have parents like you and Michael. With affection and respect, David." Jennifer held the letter with trembling hands. Michael, who was putting Ethan into the car seat, noticed the change in his wife's behavior. "What's that?" he asked. "A letter from David. Are you going to read it?" "I already did." "And?" Jennifer showed the little box with the ring to Michael. He returned the engagement ring. Michael looked at the ring, a simple but elegant solitaire. It wasn't extravagant, but it was beautiful. "What do you want to do with it?" Jennifer thought for a moment. "Sell it and use the money for Ethan's education. I think that would be a good end for it." Michael smiled and kissed his wife's forehead. "Good idea." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 2 weeks later, Jennifer was breastfeeding Ethan at home when her mother, Deborah, came to visit them. It was the first time they had seen each other since the baby's birth. "How was the delivery, dear?" Deborah asked, holding her grandson in her arms. It was Complicated, Jennifer replied, watching her mother carefully. Complicated how? The doctor who delivered the baby was David. Deborah almost dropped the baby. Her face turned white and she began to stammer. David? Your ex-fiancé, David? Yes, Mother. And during the delivery, he told me about a conversation you two had 5 years ago. Deborah placed Ethan in the crib and sank heavily into the armchair. Honey, I can explain. Then explain. Why did you lie to him? Why did you say I was cheating? Because I thought he wasn't good for you. Deborah defended herself. He came from a wealthy family. You were a simple girl. I knew sooner or later he would leave you. So you decided to speed up the process? Jennifer was visibly irritated. You destroyed my engagement based on what you thought would happen. I was protecting you. Protecting? Mom, I spent years blaming myself, thinking I had done something wrong. Do you have any idea what I went through? Deborah began to cry. I know I was wrong, honey. But look how everything turned out. You found Michael, you have a stable life, a beautiful son. That doesn't justify what you did. Jennifer stood up, upset. You interfered in my adult life. You lied. You manipulated. Lower your voice. You'll wake the baby, Deborah pleaded. Don't change the subject. I want to know, did you really believe what you told David, or did you make it all up on the spot? Deborah hesitated before answering. I exaggerated some things. What things? The photos I showed him were really old and I knew it. Mom! Jennifer shouted, waking Ethan, who started to cry. She picked up the baby to soothe him, but continued confronting her mother. You destroyed 5 years of my life because of your prejudices. And if I hadn't done that, you wouldn't have Ethan, Deborah retorted. You wouldn't have Michael. That's a terrible thing to say. You had no right to decide what was best for me. Michael, who had gone out to buy diapers, arrived home in the middle of the argument. What's going on here? He asked, seeing the two women clearly upset and Ethan crying. My mother confessed that she lied to David 5 years ago, Jennifer explained, rocking the baby to calm him. Michael looked at Deborah with disapproval. You really did that. I was protecting my daughter, Deborah repeated, but her voice lacked conviction. Protecting? Michael became upset. You destroyed her engagement based on lies. And look how it all worked out. You're together. You have a son. That's not the point, Michael interrupted. The point is that you interfered in her life in a completely inappropriate way. Deborah stood up, visibly uncomfortable with the situation. I'm leaving. You want to crucify me for taking care of my daughter. Mom, nobody wants to crucify you, Jennifer said, calmer now that Ethan had stopped crying. But you need to understand the seriousness of what you did. And you need to apologize. Apologize to whom? To me and to David. To that boy? Never. Then you haven't understood a thing, Jennifer shook her head. You still think you were right. Deborah left the house without a proper goodbye, leaving Jennifer and Michael alone with Ethan. Are you okay? Michael asked, hugging his wife. I'm processing everything. 5 years, Michael. 5 years I carried a guilt that wasn't mine. And now? What do you want to do? Jennifer looked at Ethan, who had fallen back asleep in her arms. I want the truth to be acknowledged. Not to get back with David, that's in the past, but so he knows it wasn't his fault for believing my mother's lies. Do you want to talk to him? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe just a letter explaining what I found out. Michael nodded, showing understanding. Do what you think is best. I trust you. That night, Jennifer wrote a letter to David. She told him about the conversation with her mother, about the lies that had been revealed, and apologized for holding a grudge over something he had been manipulated into doing. She ended the letter saying she didn't expect a reply, but felt he deserved to know the truth. 2 days later, David appeared at their front door. Michael answered the door, and for a moment, the two men just looked at each other in silence. I received Jennifer's letter, David said. Can I speak with her? She's feeding Ethan. Would you like to wait in the living room? David came in and sat on the sofa, clearly nervous. Michael watched him, trying to figure out his intentions. Look, Michael said, I don't know exactly what you want, but I want to be clear that my wife is happy with me. Whatever happened between you two is in the past. I know that, David replied. I didn't come here with any ulterior motives. I came because I need her to know some things that weren't in the letter I sent." Jennifer came down the stairs with Ethan in her arms. "David, what are you doing here?" "May I sit down?" he asked. Jennifer nodded, sitting down next to Michael, who put his arm around her. "Your letter made me realize there are things I didn't tell you," David began, "about why I really left." "What do you mean?" Jennifer asked. "Your mother came to see me. That's true. But she wasn't the only reason I started to doubt you." "How so?" David took a deep breath before continuing. "The day before the wedding, I went to your house to talk to you about some last-minute preparations. You weren't there, but I found letters on your desk." "What letters?" "Love letters. 3 letters written by you to 3 different men, all recent, all passionate." Jennifer was confused. "David, I didn't write letters to anyone. You must be mistaken." "I'm not mistaken. One was for Ryan, another for Brandon, and a third for someone named Jason, all dated the week before our wedding." Michael looked at Jennifer, who seemed genuinely perplexed. "Jen, do you remember writing letters to anyone?" "Of course not," she exclaimed. "David, I would never do such a thing." "I know that now. But back then, when your mother came to me the next day with the photos and talked about infidelity, the letters confirmed all my fears." Jennifer thought hard, trying to remember anything that could explain the letters. "Wait," she said suddenly. "You found the letters on my desk?" "Yes, inside the drawer." "David, I hadn't used that desk for months before the wedding. I had moved all my papers to the desk in my bedroom." "What do you mean?" "The desk in the living room was used by my mother. She was the one who kept things in it." The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone was arriving at the same conclusion. "You think your mother," Michael began. "Forged the letters," Jennifer finished. "She forged letters and left them where she knew you would find them." David ran his hands through his hair, incredulous. "But why would she do such a thing?" "Because she wanted you to doubt me. Because she wanted you to leave," Jennifer replied with growing anger. Michael shook his head, still processing the information. "You mean your mother planned everything? The photos, the letters, the conversation with David?" "It seems so." David stood up, starting to pace around the room. "Jennifer, I am so sorry. I should have talked to you about the letters. I should have given you a chance to explain. And I should have been suspicious of my mother when you just disappeared," she replied. "Knowing you as I did, I should have known something was wrong." Ethan began to stir in Jennifer's arms, showing signs of waking up. "He's growing fast," David observed. "Yes, Michael is a wonderful father." David looked at Michael with respect. "May I ask how you two met?" Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. "It was at work," Michael replied. "I worked in the IT department at her company. We started as friends. He helped me a lot when I was suffering because you had left," Jennifer completed. "He was very patient with me." "And was it a long relationship before you got married?" 2 years dating, 1 year engaged," Michael replied. David nodded, clearly processing the information. "Jennifer, can I ask you a personal question?" he asked. "That depends on the question." "Were you happy? In these 5 years, were you happy?" Jennifer looked at Michael, then at Ethan in her arms. "Yes, David, I was happy. Michael made me happy in a different way than you did, but it was a true happiness." "And you?" Michael asked David. "How were these 5 years for you?" David hesitated before answering. "Difficult, very difficult. I devoted myself entirely to medicine, trying to forget. But I never managed to have a serious relationship with anyone." "Because of her?" Michael asked without hostility. "Because of the guilt. I thought I had destroyed the life of the person I loved most, out of cowardice. How could I love someone else knowing that?" Ethan woke up and started to cry. Jennifer stood up to calm him. "He must be hungry," she said. "I'm going to nurse him." "I'll go with you," Michael said, standing up too. "No, stay here with David. I think you two need to talk." Jennifer went up to the bedroom, leaving the 2 men alone in the living room. Michael and David sat in silence for a few minutes. "Can I ask you a question?" Michael said finally. Of course. What do you really want? Coming here, talking to her? David looked directly at Michael. I want forgiveness. Not to win her back, because I know that time has passed, but to be able to live in peace with myself. And after you get that forgiveness, I'll try to move on with my life. Maybe leave Denver again. I don't want to be a constant reminder of a past you've overcome. Michael studied David for a moment. Do you still love her? David hesitated before answering. I will always love the memory of what we had together. But I understand she is a different person now, married, a mother. I respect that. And if she weren't married, if you had met and she was single, honestly, I would try to win her back, but that's not the case. Michael nodded, appreciating David's honesty. When Jennifer came down with Ethan, she found the two men talking more relaxed. What were you talking about? She asked. About my mother, Michael replied. I was telling David that she always asks about you ever since I told her what she did. Your mother knows, Jennifer asked, surprised. I told her and my father. They were outraged. My mother said she wants to talk to your mother in person. I can imagine how that conversation would go, Jennifer said, shaking her head. David stood up. I think I've bothered you enough for today. I just wanted you to know that now, understanding the whole truth, I can finally forgive myself. David, Jennifer called as he was heading to the door, you don't have to leave Denver. This city is big enough for all of us. Thank you, Jen, but I think a fresh start would be good for me. Then I wish you happiness. You deserve to be happy. David smiled, a genuine expression Jennifer hadn't seen in a long time. You both deserve it too. Take good care of Ethan. After David left, Michael and Jennifer sat on the sofa, Ethan sleeping between them. How are you feeling? Michael asked. Relieved. I finally understand the whole story. And you? How are you feeling about all this? Good. Actually, I like David. Under different circumstances, I think we'd be friends. You're not jealous? I am, Michael admitted. But I also know that you chose me. You're here with me, not with him. Jennifer kissed Michael softly. I love you. And that hasn't changed, and it's not going to change because of what we found out today. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It's a huge help for us who are just starting out. Now continuing, 3 months later, Jennifer was at the supermarket with Ethan when she ran into David in the beverage aisle. It was the first time they had seen each other since that conversation at her home. Hi, she said, pushing the shopping cart. Hi, how is Ethan? Growing fast. Look. She showed him the baby, who was awake and curious, looking around. He's beautiful, David said, but kept his distance, not trying to touch the baby. And you? How are you? Good. I'm doing a specialization in pediatrics. I discovered I really like working with children. That's good. I always thought you'd be a good father. Yeah, maybe one day, David said with a melancholy smile. They stood in silence for a moment. David, can I tell you something? Of course. I talked to my mother last week. She finally admitted that she forged the letters, and she apologized. How did that conversation go? Difficult. She cried a lot. She said she's regretted it 1,000 times over all these years, but didn't know how to fix what she had done. And how do you feel about it? I'm trying to forgive her. She's my mother, and I know that in her own mind, she thought she was protecting me. But it's going to take time. David nodded. And about us? How do you feel about everything? Jennifer thought before answering. I feel at peace. I finally understand what happened, why you left. I don't hold any resentment anymore. And I feel relieved. For the longest time, I thought I was a coward who had abandoned you for shallow reasons. Now I know I was the victim of a very well-planned manipulation. Ethan started to move, showing signs of impatience. I need to go, Jennifer said. He's getting fussy. Of course, Jen. Yes? Thank you for allowing me to deliver the baby, for clearing everything up, for giving me a chance to explain. Thank you. For saving my son, for being professional even in such a difficult situation. They said goodbye cordially. each going their separate ways in the supermarket. When Jennifer got home, she told Michael about the encounter. "How was it?" he asked. "Calm. Natural. I think now we can treat each other like two people who knew each other in the past, without all that emotional weight." "That's good." "It is. And you know what? Talking to him today, I realized how different our relationship is from the one I had with David." "Different how?" "With him it was an intense passion, but also a lot of insecurity. I was always afraid of losing him. I always thought he was too good for me. With you, it's a secure love. I know you love me, I know we're going to stay together." Michael smiled and kissed his wife. "And we are. Forever." 6 months later, David was leaving the hospital after his shift when he saw a familiar woman at the reception desk. It was Deborah, Jennifer's mother. She saw him and approached hesitantly. "Dr. David?" "Mrs. Deborah, how are you?" "Well, thank you. Do you have a minute to talk?" David looked around, then nodded. "Of course." They sat down in the hospital waiting room. "I came here to apologize," Deborah began, "for what I did 5 years ago. Jennifer told me you confessed everything." "Yes, and I want you to know that I regret it every single day. I was wrong, completely wrong." David studied the older woman's face. She seemed genuinely remorseful. "Why did you do it, Mrs. Deborah?" "Because I was afraid. Afraid that my daughter would suffer. Afraid that she would be abandoned by someone from a different social class. My own father abandoned me when I was a child, and I think I projected that insecurity onto Jennifer. Do you know you almost destroyed her life because of your fears? I know, and I am so sorry. So much." Deborah began to cry silently. "May I ask why you're looking for me now?" David asked. "Because I want to try to fix things. I know I can't turn back time, but maybe I can help you both move on without this hurt." "Mrs. Deborah, I've already managed to move on. And Jennifer has too. She's happy with Michael." "I know. But I want you to know that you deserve to be happy too. My daughter told me you were never able to have a serious relationship after what happened." David was surprised by the information. "She said that." "She did. And that makes me feel even more guilty. You were a good young man. You were always respectful to me and to her. You didn't deserve what I did. What do you want from me, Mrs. Deborah?" "Forgiveness. And for you to believe that you can love someone else. Build a family. Don't let what I did ruin your ability to be happy." David was silent for a few minutes. "I'm not going to lie and say I completely forgive you," he finally said, "but I understand that you acted out of fear, not malice. And that helps." "Thank you," Deborah whispered. "And about finding someone?" "I'm trying. Actually, I met a pediatrician here at the hospital. We're getting to know each other slowly." "That's wonderful. What is she like?" David smiled for the first time in the conversation. "She's kind, smart, loves what she does. She's very different from Jennifer. But that's good. I need to build something new, not try to recreate the past." "What's her name?" "Catherine. Dr. Catherine Reed." "And are you two dating?" "We're getting to know each other. She knows my history with Jennifer. She knows it took me time to be able to open up to someone new." "And does she understand?" "She does. She also had a serious relationship that didn't work out." "We're taking it slow." Deborah smiled, seeming genuinely happy with the news. "I'm glad you're giving love another chance." "So am I." They stood up to say goodbye. "Dr. David, may I ask one more favor?" "Go ahead." "If one day you're willing, I'd like to meet Catherine. I know I have no right to ask this, but I would like to be able to meet the person who is making you happy." David thought for a moment. "Maybe one day, Mrs. Deborah, when I'm ready. Thank you." They said their goodbyes, and David thought about the conversation as he drove home. It was strange how life sometimes offered chances for healing where you least expected them. That night, he called Catherine. "Hi, Dave," she answered, using the nickname she had created for him. "Hi, Kate. How was your day?" "Busy. I saw 12 children today. And yours?" "Interesting. I had an unexpected conversation with my ex-fiancé's mother." The woman who caused all that trouble? Yes, she came to apologize. And how do you feel about that? Good, actually. It closed a circle for me. That's great. Does that mean you're ready to let me hear this whole story? David smiled. Catherine had been very understanding about the fact that he needed time to talk about the past. It does. How about dinner tomorrow and I'll tell you everything? Perfect. Your place or mine? Mine. I'll cook for you. Wow, what a treat. What are you making? Lasagna. It's my specialty. I can't wait. After hanging up, David sat on the couch in his house, looking out the window. For the first time in 5 years, he felt that he was truly ready to start a new chapter of his life. A year later, Jennifer was at the park with Ethan, who was now walking and exploring everything around him, when she saw David approaching. He wasn't alone. A beautiful brunette woman was walking beside him, holding the hand of a small child. "Jen!" David waved when he saw her. "Hi, David," she replied, picking Ethan up. As they got closer, David made the introductions. "Jen, this is Catherine, my fiancée. Kate, this is Jennifer, the one I told you about." "It's so nice to meet you," Catherine said, extending her hand with a genuine smile. "David has told me so much about you." "The pleasure is mine," Jennifer replied, immediately liking Catherine's simplicity. "And is this Ethan?" Catherine asked, looking at the boy in Jennifer's arms. "Yes, this is my son. Ethan, say hello to Aunt Catherine." Ethan, feeling shy, hid his face in his mother's neck. "And this is Emma," David said, crouching down to be at the same level as the little girl standing with Catherine. "Kate's daughter." "Hello, Emma," Jennifer said kindly. "How old are you?" "4," the little girl replied, holding up 4 tiny fingers. "David told me you're a pediatrician," Jennifer said to Catherine. "Yes, I am. And what do you do for work?" "I'm a lawyer. I work for a legal consulting firm." They chatted for a few minutes while David played with Emma and tried to interact with Ethan, who was still shy. "He was born at the hospital where David works, right?" Catherine asked. "Yes, he was. It was an interesting situation," Jennifer said, smiling. "He told me. He said it was one of the most challenging deliveries of his career for obvious reasons." "And how do you feel about the whole story?" Jennifer asked, curious. "At first I felt a little insecure," Catherine admitted. "After all, they had an important history. But after talking with David, I understood that the past is the past. And seeing the two of you together now, I see there's really nothing but mutual respect." "Exactly. We're different people now than we were 6 years ago." Ethan started to squirm, wanting to get down. Jennifer put him on the ground, but kept a close watch so he wouldn't wander off. "Emma, would you like to play with Ethan?" Catherine asked her daughter. "Does he know how to play with dolls?" Emma asked innocently. Everyone laughed at the question. "I think you two will have to find a game you both like," David said. The children ended up playing in the sand while the adults talked. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" Catherine said. "Of course." "David sometimes worries that our presence in the city bothers you and your husband. Is that true?" Jennifer looked at David, who seemed a little embarrassed. "David, are you still thinking about that?" "Sometimes," he admitted. "Denver isn't a small town, but it's not huge either. We're likely to run into each other from time to time." "And that's fine," Jennifer said firmly. "David, you are as much a part of this city's story as I am. There's no reason for you to leave because of us." "That's what I always tell him," Catherine agreed. "Besides, we have our own story here now." "How did you two meet?" Jennifer asked. "At the hospital," David replied. "She started working in pediatrics a few months after Ethan was born. He had a reputation for being the most serious and workaholic doctor at the hospital," Catherine added, laughing. "No one could get a joke out of him." "And you managed to?" Jennifer asked, amused. "It took time, a lot of time. He was very closed off." "I can imagine," Jennifer said, looking at David with understanding. Ethan came over to her, his hands full of sand. "I'm going to have to give him a bath when we get home," she commented. "Emma loves to get dirty too," Catherine said. "Yesterday she came home from school covered in paint." "What's it like being a single mother?" Jennifer asked. if you don't mind talking about it. I don't mind. It's challenging but rewarding. Emma's father lives in Los Angeles, so it's basically just her and me here. And now David, Jennifer observed. Catherine smiled, looking at her fiancé with affection. Now David. He's wonderful with Emma. She already thinks of him as a father. And are you planning on having children together? Jennifer asked. We're thinking about it, David replied. Maybe next year, after we get married. When is the wedding? In November, Catherine answered. It will be something simple, just family and close friends. That's nice, I'm happy for you. Ethan came back near Jennifer, now tired from playing. I think it's time for us to go, she said. He's getting tired. We're going too, Catherine said. Emma has swimming lessons soon. They said goodbye cordially, and Jennifer watched as David, Catherine, and Emma walked away. There was something comforting about seeing David happy, building a new family. When she got home, Michael was working on his laptop at the kitchen table. How was the outing? He asked, looking at Ethan all covered in sand. Interesting. We ran into David at the park. He was with his fiancée and her daughter. Oh really? How was it? Good. She seems like a very nice person, and it's obvious they love each other. Do you feel okay about that? Michael asked, closing the laptop to give his full attention to the conversation. I feel great. Seeing him happy makes me feel at peace with everything that happened. It's like now, finally, we're all where we're supposed to be. It's a happy ending for everyone. Yes, it is, Jennifer agreed, picking up Ethan to give him a bath. You know something, Michael? What? I'm grateful everything happened the way it did. If David hadn't left, I never would have met you. And I can't imagine my life without you and without Ethan. Michael stood up and kissed his wife. Me neither. I think things happen for a reason. That night, after Ethan went to sleep, Jennifer and Michael talked about the future. They were thinking about having another child and maybe moving to a bigger house. You know what really stood out to me in my conversation with Catherine today? Jennifer said, lying next to Michael. What? How naturally she talked about our past. No jealousy, no discomfort. That shows how honest David has been with her from the start. And is that important to you? Yes, it shows he's truly moved on from the past and is building something solid with her. And what about your mother? How are things with her? Getting better. Slowly, but getting better. She's been a wonderful grandmother to Ethan, and I think that's helping to heal our relationship. And does she know David found someone? She does. In fact, she mentioned she'd like to meet Catherine someday. Quite a change, huh? It really is. I think age and guilt made her rethink a lot of things. 2 months later, it was the day of David and Catherine's wedding. Jennifer was surprised when she received an invitation in the mail. They invited us to the wedding, she said to Michael, showing him the elegant invitation. Do you want to go? Michael asked. I don't know. What do you think? I think it would be a nice gesture. It would show there really are no hard feelings. But wouldn't it be awkward? Maybe a little, but sometimes doing the right thing is a little awkward. Jennifer thought about it for a few days before deciding. In the end, she and Michael decided to go to the wedding. The ceremony was held in a small, intimate garden on the north side of Denver. There were about 50 guests, all seemingly family and close friends. When Jennifer and Michael arrived, David saw them immediately and came over. I couldn't believe it when I saw you had RSVP'd, he said, clearly emotional. I wouldn't miss the chance to see you happy, Jennifer replied, hugging him. Where's Ethan? David asked. With my mother, Michael answered. We thought it best not to bring him. I understand. Come on, I want to introduce you to my parents. David led them to an elegant couple in their 60s. Mom, Dad, this is Jennifer and Michael, the ones I told you about. David's parents greeted Jennifer and Michael politely, but it was obvious the situation was a little uncomfortable for them. It's a pleasure to meet you, David's mother said. David told us about the whole story. We hope you can be happy together now, David's father added, speaking to Jennifer and Michael. Thank you, Jennifer replied, and congratulations on David's wedding. Catherine seems like a wonderful person. She is, David's mother agreed, visibly more relaxed. And Emma is such a sweetheart. The ceremony was simple and moving. Emma was the flower girl, scattering rose petals down the aisle as Catherine entered to the sound of soft music played by a guitarist. Jennifer felt her eyes well up when she saw David waiting for Catherine at the altar. There was so much love in his gaze, so much peace. He was clearly a man who had found his place in the world. During the exchange of vows, Catherine said something that deeply touched Jennifer. "David, you taught me that it's possible to start over, that the past doesn't define who we are today. I promise to be your partner in this new life we are building together." And David replied, "Catherine, you gave me back the ability to love without fear. I promise to honor not only you but also Emma, and to build with you the family I've always dreamed of." After the ceremony, during the reception, Jennifer went to greet the newlyweds. "Congratulations," she said to Catherine. "You make a beautiful couple." "Thank you for coming," Catherine answered. "I know it might have been awkward for you." "Actually, it was moving to see David so happy," Jennifer said sincerely. "Jennifer," David approached, "can I speak with you for a minute?" They moved a little away from the other guests. "I want to thank you," he said. "For what?" "For coming here today, for supporting my happiness. You didn't have to, but it means a lot to me. David, you are a good person. You deserve to be happy, and Catherine is perfect for you. She is. She accepts me for who I am with all my baggage, and she loves Emma as if she were her own daughter. And Emma? How is she handling everything?" "Great. She calls Catherine Mom and me Daddy. It's as if we had always been a family." "That's beautiful. And you, how is Ethan?" "Growing up fast. He's already saying a few words, trying to walk on his own." "And are you thinking about having more children?" "We're trying," Jennifer said, smiling. "Who knows, maybe he'll have a little brother or sister soon." "That's wonderful. You are wonderful parents." Michael approached at that moment. "Can I steal my wife back?" he said, joking. "Of course," David laughed. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for inviting us," Michael replied, "and congratulations. We wish you all the success." On the way home, Jennifer and Michael talked about the wedding. "How did you feel?" Michael asked. "Good. Really good, actually. It was like closing a chapter for good. And now, how do you feel about everything that happened?" "Grateful. Grateful for the pain, for being left, for finding you, for having Ethan. Every bad thing that happened led me to something better." "You really think that?" "I do. If David hadn't left, I never would have met you, and I can't imagine my life without you." Michael smiled and held Jennifer's hand. "I'm grateful too, for all the circumstances that brought us together, and now it's our time. Our family, our plans, our future. Forever," Michael agreed. 3 months later, Jennifer discovered she was pregnant again. This time it would be a girl, whom they decided to name Olivia. When Ethan turned 2, they had a party in their backyard. To Jennifer's surprise, David, Catherine, and Emma showed up with a gift. "You didn't have to come," Jennifer said, but she was clearly happy to see them. "We wanted to meet Olivia," Catherine said, looking at the baby in Michael's arms. "And to wish the birthday boy a happy birthday," David added, crouching down to talk to Ethan, who was now running around the house. "Hi, Ethan. Do you remember me?" Ethan looked at David curiously, but showed no sign of recognition. To him, David was just another adult at the party. "He's shy around people he doesn't see often," Michael explained. "That's okay," David smiled. "We brought a present for him." It was a fire truck, which Ethan loved immediately. During the party, the children played together while the adults talked. Emma, now 5 years old, helped look after Ethan and was enchanted by Olivia. "Can I hold the baby?" she asked Jennifer. "Of course, but let's sit on the sofa to be safer." Emma held Olivia carefully under Jennifer's watchful eye. "She's so small," Emma observed. "You were that small once too," Catherine told her daughter. "And will I have a little brother that small too?" Emma asked innocently. Catherine and David exchanged a look, smiling. "Maybe," David replied. "What do you think about that?" "I want one," Emma exclaimed. "I can teach him how to play like I'm teaching Ethan." Jennifer looked at Catherine curiously. "Are you two—" "Trying," Catherine answered, blushing a little. "But it hasn't happened yet." "It will happen," Jennifer said with conviction. "And you'll be wonderful parents. You think so? David asked. I'm sure of it. Just look at how you are with Emma. At the end of the party, when all the guests had left, David and Catherine offered to help clean up. You don't have to, Michael said. You've already helped us so much just by coming here. Are you sure? Catherine insisted. Sure. You have a long drive ahead of you to get back home. As they were saying their goodbyes, David approached Jennifer one last time. Jen, can I say something? Of course. Seeing you here today with your family, I see how happy you are, and that makes me happy too. Thank you, David. And seeing you with Catherine and Emma, I see that you've found your happiness too. I have. And you know what? I think everything happened the way it was supposed to. I think so too. Now we're two happy families, each building our own future. Exactly. And who knows, maybe our children will be friends when they grow up. That would be nice, David smiled. Emma already likes Ethan and Olivia a lot. And they'll grow up knowing that you are special people in Mom and Dad's life. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave it in the comments with sincere words. Do you believe Jennifer made the right decision to forgive and move on? We look forward to reading your opinion. Thank you so much for your company. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories.